What up, guys? Otterpop here. It's time for part 2 of this crime scene investigation with the Victor Jennings guy, who apparently is, based on what I've seen from multiple pages already, is a bit of a scumbag. So I've already looked at a whole bunch of information with Victor's brother, with his right-hand man, with his assistant, and his neighbor. But I have yet to touch on anything related to family, but it looks like that is about to happen. Is his interviews and information on his parents. So, okay, so the aspects, at least what I've heard that I don't like about Victor, he clearly got them from his father. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. He basically called Raymond like a wimp and a mama's boy, and then said that his older son had, intelligence and grit and determination and stuff like that. He says that Victor's death was an accident, and apparently there were some college girls who made false accusations about him, but for whatever reason, the father, Brad, some gold diggers looking for a quick buck. There's college girls who made up those false accusations against him. So basically, Victor in his eyes was a perfect child. I mean, okay, so the father had been arrested several times, but most of the cases did not make it to trial. And he was leaving everything to Victor. But about a year later, he added information saying that Victor should provide for his wife's basic necessities for as long as she lived, which does seem a bit odd. And I know that the detectives mentioned it when they had an interview with him, but Brad never explained why and seemed super defensive about it. Okay, so here's the mother. Mother, Margaret, basically kind of reaffirmed what Raymond was saying in some cases, in that, Brad absolutely adored Victor, but seemed blind to his eldest son. But Margaret, not so much. And Raymond was definitely a mama's boy. She definitely took care of him a lot. Apparently he'd stolen this prized music box that Brad's father, I think, had gotten from Roosevelt, like this music box or something like that. Whether it was from money or just like pure spite or the fact that he could, but Victor basically stole it. And, she says that Raymond loved Victor, as my husband and I did. She seems defensive, but then again, she is a mother who just lost her son. Just think about it. How would any parent react if their child died before them? I can't attest to this myself because I'm not a parent, but, my parents are parents. And, they've kind of discussed topics like that every now and then. If, when maybe a story comes up on the news or anything like that, and there's a child who ends up dying long before their parent ever did or could, and my parents can't even imagine anything like that. They want them and my sister and I to live for a very long time. They want to go before my sister and I do. Absolutely. So here's the mother's bio.
I'm Margaret Jennings, Victor's mother.
Well, okay. Well, I don't understand the random video, but okay. Oh, she's from Omaha, Nebraska. She's a Cornhusker. her parents apparently died when she was 8, which, ouch, that's pretty sad. But she did live with her aunt and uncle, who were sort of her. I mean, they were technically her aunt and uncle, but were kind of also her surrogate parents for a long time. She used the insurance money from her parents' death to attend college, met Brad. They ended up dating, married, had Victor and Raymond, and then the family dynamic kind of changed where Brad really took care of Victor and then Margaret took care of Raymond. But Raymond and Margaret were definitely very close, and based on what I've seen from everything, seemed to have a sort of a very close relationship and what's the term? They seem to have like a sort of reciprocal relationship where they both loved and respected each other, whereas from what it sounds like, Victor and Brad didn't really have that, in the sense that Brad did love and dote on his son, but it's possible that Victor didn't necessarily reciprocate that. So, and of course, once the sons moved out on their own and kind of, separated, emotionally speaking, the parents, they didn't necessarily go down, but they could never really go back up to whatever the previous years, or like, their first years together. So Thomas Eldon. So this is Victor's lawyer, like associate. Earned an undergraduate degree at Harvard with a 4.0 GPA and completed Harvard Law School. Okay, I'll give him that. He's pretty freaking brilliant. So here is his interview. Well, there's actually it's a little bit longer than some of the others. Okay, so this guy mentioned a whole bunch of new names, pretty much all of them for completely different reasons. So I'm not going to go into all of them because I assume that most or all of them are going to be explored in later sections. But no, this he may have, based on the way he said it, he may have seemed a little bit entitled and stuff, but he was intelligent, and he doesn't seem to be like a crooked lawyer, like, how most people would believe that lawyers are these days. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not always true, but in some cases it can be, at least from what I've heard. So apparently Victor was normally a very rude individual, which completely adds up with everything else that I've read about him so far. So yeah, there's a lot of names that were just kind of thrown at me. The detectives read something in the Oxford Weekly Planet that prompted to reach out and schedule a couple of interviews for the next day. Oh, Michael and Samantha Hawke. So it's because of this power couple, and I say that because that's how they were referred to in a lot of other previous pages and whatnot. It's this couple that had the legal issue with Victor that basically led to his house arrest. Okay. So basically, those two are in town. Okay, Victor Jennings' phone calls. The account names listed indicate only the billing name associated with the telephone number, not the identity of the person. Okay. Gail Jennings. I feel like I've seen that. Who's Gail Jennings? Okay, so wait, this guy, last phone call. Okay, so he died on the 9th. Because there was voicemail on the telephone line at the Jennings residence, all incoming calls remaining on the line until the voicemail activated are recorded as complete calls. So, like, some of these shorter ones are probably ones that went to voicemail. See, there's... oh, maybe not. Gail Jennings. Where have I seen that name? Yeah, they're Barbara Daniels. That name was mentioned by the lawyer guy. I don't remember his name. Carl. There was a call with the neighbor William. I wonder if it could have had to do with the potential dispute, or the potential fence dispute. And Gail Jennings. Is that Raymond's wife, maybe? Yep, lawyer Eldon, Brad Jennings, Troy Daniels, Landshark Delivery, Margaret Jennings, so the mother, friend, the neighbor, lawyer, Troy Daniels again, Gail, twice more, Barbara Daniels, assistant, brother, mother, brother, and the assistant. Interesting. Station was buzzing as the people the detectives arranged to meet with came for their interviews. First, Detective Okay, let's just look at this bio. Oh boy.
Are you excited about your new book? I think once it's revised, it'll be a blockbuster. It's a story about our lives.
Can you comment about Victor Jennings?
We have no comment about Victor Jennings. You know that.
That got they like lost their faces really fast. Okay, so this guy's basically, you know, performer type. Pretty simple story of going to Hollywood, meeting his love, getting married, and, you know, both of them making names for themselves. Apparently they have the nicknames Mr. and Mrs. Hollywood. Apparently they were going to write a memoir and then found Victor Jennings, who was a book agent, and that he was good at what he did. But apparently Victor was accused of blackmailing the Hawks for an enormous amount of money to keep his mouth shut about certain details the couple didn't want in the book. So they became close initially, but clearly did not happen. So this is his interview about his take on Victor. Okay, so he seems to have an alibi, but he got a little bit too defensive too quickly. Not like, you know, obviously defensive, but yeah, he may have gotten a little bit more, just a little bit more defensive than he probably should have. I mean, like, come on, people, you have to understand that when it comes to an investigation like this, detectives and police officers ask these questions for reasons. Like, the more information you give them and the less problem you give, the easier it usually is for law enforcement to put two and two together, to put all the evidence and the interviews and the information together. Here's her interview. And she got a slight bit defensive too, but again, there was nothing really new that, you know, Michael didn't say. You know, they're the love of my life. I get why people say that, but at the same time I really don't. Like, oh, he's the light of my life, she's the love of my life. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're gonna be saying stuff like that, I will probably respect you just a little bit less, because I really hate it when people like say and do stuff like that. Like, that my parents don't even say that to one another. My parents are saying things like they love each other. Like, they don't say like all these cheesy stuff like love of my life and stuff like that, but you know, they love each other very much, but their relationship isn't built on love. It's built on trust and respect more than anything else. and with good reason. Like, both my parents are very honest, respectful, and responsible individuals, and in my opinion, and yes, I may be a slight bit biased, but in my opinion, they got the whole relationship thing down. And it's not necessarily perfect in a sense that, you know, they still have their arguments every now and then. There's still some flaws that both of them have that, you know, the other is kind of just like, oh my god, here we go again. But their relationship is not built on love. It's built on respect for themselves, their family, and each other. Like, that is what a relationship is in my eyes. But it's like he's the love of my life. Like, just cheesy stuff like that. It's just that I don't respect people. I don't respect the statement, or at least I don't respect what the statement represents or what people think it represents. It's a little silly in some aspects. Because, like, love and relationships are... yeah. Sorry. I had a rant. I really did. To another person. Victor's lawyer mentioned a lot. Oh, Terry Smith, okay.
I'm Terry Smith, and I regret the night that I met that scumbag, Victor Jennings.
Ugh. Okay then. I'm sorry, what is that? Choctawachi? Oh my god. Whoa, right then. Okay, so Terry basically had a roommate, Kristen, and the two of them knew Victor pretty well. You know, like flirting with him and having dinner and whatnot, and apparently Victor had some parties every once in a while, which Terry and or Kristen would go to. This is interesting though. Victor had a New Year's Eve party. And apparently Terry and Kristen came back separately from that party. They never went to another one of his parties, and they wouldn't say why. So this ought to be interesting. Oh yeah, she's got a longer interview for one thing. So that's why they knew him. Something about like modeling careers. Okay, so apparently Victor did something to both Terry and Kristen, but we don't exactly know what that was yet. She hasn't revealed that. And she also kind of confirmed that Carl was a little bit more... He was a researcher in a sense, but he was a little bit more like Victor's bodyguard than anything else, which I'm not too terribly surprised about. But whatever he did, I don't know if it was sexually related or if it was, you know, just extreme blackmail or extortion, but another of Victor's neighbors. Oh, Zena Jacinto. This was one of the neighbors who had, this was the neighbor who had, like, called out Victor for disturbing the peace or something like that.
I'm Zena Jacinto. I love cats, but Victor Jennings didn't.
I'm sorry, the way she said that was utterly hilarious. I like cats. Oh boy. I'm sorry. So she apparently was kind of an orphan because her dad took off and then her mom died from pneumonia. She moved in with a John and Mary skeleton. What? Oh, she was about to get She was about to get adoption, but before the adoption was finalized, the parents were killed when they pulled into a path of an oncoming semi-truck. But they'd already made her the sole beneficiary of their life insurance policy. Huh. More than enough money to support her for the rest. Given her depressing childhood beforehand, that's a pretty nice turn of events for her. Okay, so it sounds like she's a bit of an odd duck. For one thing, something of a crazy cat lady, which based on the video I'm not surprised about at all. She kept a close eye on all of her neighbors, and she contacted the authorities about them a lot. So this, I imagine, is the interview with her. She lived across the street as a self-appointed neighborhood watch. Okay. Oh. She's got a list of the cars that have been to Victor's house. License plate numbers, dates. Wow. Oh, that could be useful. Extraordinarily useful. Oh, she hated him. As nutty and weird as she is, I kind of like her. That's probably why I like her, honestly, though, is because of her oddball behavior. She keeps a record of this guy like nobody's business, and she probably keeps a pretty good one since she lives right across the street. He's done some things to her cats, which, yeah, there's just some stories about this, but she's also quite religious, and I wouldn't be surprised if she thinks that he's going to hell. Oh, a second interview with the assistant. Okay, so the assistant, Lee Merriweather, apparently was, at this point, it's like probably, what is it, like 3-4 days after the murder, 3 days after the body was found, at least. She kind of just mostly rehashed information from earlier, but she says that after thinking about it, some stuff might have been missing from Victor's office, but she doesn't exactly say what. I don't know, maybe she kind of does, so like, I think some stuff might have been missing in Victor's office. What kind of stuff? So, some dumb knickknacks, a clock, a music box, a little statuette he got as an award, stupid toy with 5 balls that make you whack each other back and forth, a pause button, a gold slinky. Is that like what she noticed was missing or something like that? The music box is what's got me interested, though. Because not a lot of people would really know about that except members of the family. I don't remember seeing the mat in front of the sink. The dishwasher door was open and something about it didn't look right to me, but I can't remember what it was. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so here's the list of visitors. Investigators are currently tracing the license plate numbers to identify the registered owners. Loud black car. Okay, so this was the day that he was killed. There was only one car that came twice. This black car, the 264 APV. Okay, I imagine the shiny black car at 6:30 is probably his assistant, though, but a black car came in at 5:15. 264 APV. That would have been around the time he would have died. So that would be the most likely place to look. Huh. So we've learned about a whole bunch more people going on here with a whole bunch more stories, but at the moment, evidence-wise, nothing is really standing out. I wonder what they're gonna do. Like, again, it's that one plate number that if they can figure out where it's from, or like who owns the car with that license plate number, they might be able to get a lead. Because that seems like the most likely direction to go to so far, but... Alright. So this guy possibly got killed. There doesn't seem to be anyone of suspicion at the moment. Probably partially because a lot of people do not like this guy. But a lot of them are also claiming that they wouldn't be able to really kill Victor, as much of a scumbag as he was. But yeah, nobody seemed to like this guy, so this ought to be interesting. But I'll have to pick that up in another episode. I might go ahead and finish days 5, 6, and 7 all in one episode, so I might just finish it that way. And I have only really 3 parts. Hopefully I'm able to cut down a lot. But, oh boy. Things are getting interesting. Now we're starting to get somewhere with like actual evidence and whatnot. But for now, it's just mostly interviews. So I'm just gonna have to leave it at that. So thank you everyone for watching, and as usual, until the next video, guys, check you laters.